PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill, one of the best books that you could ever read. It's what Think and Grow Rich was born out of. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, meaning that you've gone through a traumatic experience, regardless of what that is to you. Trauma's trauma. And you are continuously living within the feedback loop cycle of the event that took place in said past. So for example, seeing all of the widows being handed folded flags. I mean, I don't even know how many widows I've seen get handed a folded flag at this point. I have had to hand 2 folded flags, one to my grandmother, one to my best friend's mom. Traumatic experiences. Whether you're suffering from a sexual assault or a physical assault, or your lover was cheating on you, or whatever it is, you saw a horrific accident, or maybe you ran over your dog and killed your dog like I did so many years ago. Don't worry, Roof. Every single time that you think about that experience, you begin to create a neurochemical disposition in your body. A neurochemical disposition is just a fancy way of saying an emotion. So your thoughts create emotions in your body. It does this based off of the brain's perceived need to survive and keep the quality of lifestyle moving forward, whatever it is that you have, at an unconscious primitive level. Because down here at the very base of your brain, the basal ganglia, is all primitive response type stuff. When you think about a past experience, or even if you just think about a potential future experience, is the importance of visualization. When you relive that past experience, let's make this a little bit practical. I want you to close your eyes and think about a past event, preferably something that brings you joy. And for me, it's the sound of my children's laughter when I'm tickling them, or kissing their tummy, giving them raspberries, and they're just trying so hard to block my face from my furry face from hitting their belly, but I just hold their arms back, and they just can't. They just want to try so bad, but they can't do anything to prevent me from giving them those raspberries. And they laugh so hysterically and uncontrollably that it's impossible for me to not also be smiling and laughing at the same time. And as I think about that, that creates and elicits an emotion inside of me. My brain starts to fire off certain hormones and neurochemicals, and receptors begin to pick things up in my bloodstream. And I then therefore feel joy and elation. And so there's elevated amounts of oxytocin. There's elevated amounts of serotonin, reduced levels of cortisol, for example, just to name some of the big ones. Now, if I was to think about a past experience or something that happened that made me feel bad, my brain is more likely to remember and recall those events because it has to do with survival. And our brain prioritizes survival and maintenance of the quality of life more than anything, because at a primitive level, all it knows is that it's receiving calories, sustenance, it is surviving. Consciously, you might not be satisfied with your life and where you're at, but at a primitive level, you don't mind. And that's exactly why you're probably stuck at wherever you're stuck at. That's why most people are stuck. That's why I was stuck, why I still do get stuck. But I digress. So when you think about that past experience, it creates a neurochemical disposition in your body, which is an emotion. That emotion then therefore permeates physiologically throughout your actions, because when you are happy and confident and proud, you walk with your chest up, your head high, you're smiling, you're enjoying yourself, you're moving with purpose and intent. But when you're sad or depressed or angry, frustrated, or upset, your body takes on a different language. It's called body language. And so your shoulders are forward slumped. Maybe your breathing slows down. Maybe your breathing is shallow. You're not getting good lungfuls of oxygen and breath and air. So therefore, it then begins to take an effect on the physical quality of your life, the things that you're doing, the things that you're saying, the people that you're attracting to you, because everything resonates at a certain vibration and frequency. Everything in the universe does. And so when you think of the past experience and it creates a neurochemical disposition or emotion in your body, That then therefore begins to permeate itself physically in your life and project itself from your physical being. This is how we end up living in this negative feedback loop cycle when it comes to post-traumatic stress, or living in the past, or letting some external thing dictate and guide who you are within your life. So how do you overcome this? First and foremost is the realization of it, which is what we just accomplished. I will never allow something external to me to allow it to influence or guide the creation of the person and the spirit and the soul and the being that I am within this life. I won't do it. I am responsible for all things in my life, plain and simple. That's the first step, acceptance and realization. Or I should say realization. Second step, acceptance. Now, third step, how do you begin to change your brain, to change the way that you think? Well, it comes in little steps and increments, but it comes in the form of changing the things that you think about and the way that you think about them. The best way that I've found to do this is to change something within your physical daily habits. So if you wake up at 5 and then go take a piss and then drink some coffee and then eat your breakfast and then get ready for work and then go to work every single day, then you are literally priming and programming your day to begin just like you have thousands of other times in the past. Therefore, your thought processes are going to be the exact same, and therefore you're never going to be able to break free from that experience that holds you back in terms of like that trauma. If you do something as simple as wake up at 4:55, take a piss, drink a tall glass of water, like mineralized water. I use the Jocko rehydration packets. My wife uses, I think, Element or something. There's all sorts of different things out there that you could pour into your water that have sodium and potassium and chloride and things like that that'll help to activate your brain function. Just by doing something that small, you're already making changes within the way that you think in terms of habitual thought processes. Another thing that I have done in my life is I'll brush my teeth. I brush my teeth 2 times in the morning. Once when I first wake up, just to get the funk out of my mouth. But then the second time after I eat breakfast, the first time I'll actually use my left hand to brush my teeth, because it's forcing me to just think differently about what seems to be insignificant, small, and mundane tasks. But those are what ultimately control our life, because those small mundane tasks, what we call habits, those are things programmed into the subconscious mind. Subconscious is responsible for 90% roughly of all the things that you do and think in life. And so just by throwing a wrench in the consistent pattern that you've kept for X amount of time, which ultimately results in you having the same thought processes and suffering from the same calamities that existed in the past, because when you think about that experience, your body's producing the exact same neurochemical disposition as it did when it experienced said event, maybe just in different amounts of amplitude, but still the exact same emotions, the exact same neurochemicals. Therefore, you're never going to make it free from the bondage and the chains of the experience that you've had. But when you begin to implement small, little, seemingly insignificant changes within your daily morning process, I like the morning and the evening the best, because if I can control the beginning and the end of my day, I have some semblance of control in between. And not externally, but internally with myself. And so if you could begin to maintain waking up 5 minutes earlier, drinking that tall glass of water that has some sort of minerals in it, right there in itself, for 30 days, not even 30, for 7 days, you will already begin to see a difference within the way that you think about things, because now there's some new gap in there that needs to be filled. New gap of time, new gap of thought, new gap of emotion. And whatever your emotions are going to dictate the physiological response that you have, therefore the things that are created within your world. And so that's the third step, is have a plan of what it is you're going to disrupt. The fourth step is to actually take that action. And then the fifth step is consistency or persistence. In this book, The Law of Success and Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon says that persistence is to success what carbon is to steel. Carbon is what makes steel so indestructible. Persistence, no matter what you feel, the discipline to maintain and keep moving forward because you made this idea, you made this plan when you were sober of the mind and not drunk off of the desire to quit due to lethargy or anxiety, whatever it is. If you can remain persistent, then you will break free from the bondage and chains of the things that you suffer from. And I know for a fact that this will work for the most insane, egregious of life experiences because I've lived through them. I will say that I've never been raped. So I can't speak from experience for myself that this will help you break free from the bondage of the chains of any sort of sexual assault that you have gone through. But I can say this. I do know people personally who have implemented these exact techniques. I have helped a couple of women implement these exact techniques, and they no longer consider themselves bound by that experience. Yes, there will always be some degree of sadness that I feel for the things that I've endured. Yes, there will always be some degree of guilt that I feel for the things that I've endured. That's just life. We're just human beings. But am I allowing those emotions and those experiences to control my thought processes, my paradigm, my belief systems, my life? No. It's a thing that I've experienced. And I've actually gotten so good at disassociating myself from past experiences that I actually sometimes feel like I'm making things up and I'm lying. But I know that I'm not because, I mean, my whole life is nothing more than a receipt of that of which that I've experienced. I mean, you just look all around this room. Everything in my life is just a token of the past. But if you want to give yourself the greatest chance possible, then this is what you need to do. Now, just to reiterate, first is realization that your thoughts create your emotions, and when you think about past negative experiences, that creates the neurochemical disposition or emotion in your body here in the present moment. 2 is acceptance for the fact that you are responsible for all things that you think because you can control your mind, you can control your thoughts. And therefore you can control your emotions. Therefore you can control your actions and the things that you do and that you find yourself to be bound to. So we have realization, then we have acceptance. Then we have make a decision or a plan. I'm going to wake up 5 minutes earlier, no matter what time that is, and I'm going to drink a tall glass of mineralized water in the morning. That's all I'm going to do. That's it. Next is take the action. Do it. Prep it the night before. Put the glass out. Put your little mineral packet next to it. That right there in itself will exponentially help you move forward. People talk about morning routines. I'm a big night routine fan. Lastly, persistence. You're going to want to quit. Your brain at a primitive level is going to say, oh my God, something is different. Even though at a primitive level, or at a conscious level, you know that what you're doing is good. It's not bad. It's not anything crazy or disruptive. At a primitive level, a survivalist level in your brain, the unconscious part that you cannot control, without elongated persistence that you need to mold and modify at the subconscious level, that's going to be saying there's a disruption within my survival routine. You could be the most miserable person in the world and you see it every day. But if you're surviving, if you're taking in calories, if you're not burning in excess of energy, your brain will always keep you there at an unconscious, subconscious level. It's called your psycho-cybernetic mechanism. If you want a good book on that, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Highly encourage you check that out. He was a former plastic surgeon who became a psychiatrist because of the effects or the lack of effects people were seeing from their plastic surgeries. But I digress to your brain at the unconscious level will know that there's something different. It's going to want you to go back to what you were doing because it knows that that's safe. You can't listen to it. You cannot get drunk off the desire to go back to your old thought processes and patterns and habits. You cannot divert from the plan in which you made when you were sober of mind and full of life and motivation and desire to change. You must remain persistent. And that's why these small little chunks of change are what's so important, so you could build momentum. So when you wake up 5 minutes early, drink a tall glass of water. You do that for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. You don't even have to think about it anymore now because you've programmed it into your subconscious mind. Your brain says, hey, everything's cool. It's calmed down. It's not trying to force you to go back to the person that you were a month ago because it's still getting sustenance. It's still surviving. And in fact, it even feels a little bit better. Then you build momentum. Then you begin to add more things. So for example, what I did when I first decided to change my life, go from being a drunk, handfuls of prescription meds popping, antidepressants, blood control medicine, and psycho crazy drugs. I mean, I was so fucked up. I was on 26 medications and slugging bottles of Jameson, an entire fifth of Jameson to myself a night. Hanging out my balcony, shooting my gun off into the air like an asshole in a residential area. It's fucked up. But when I decided to change, I knew I had to take some sort of drastic measure, but I knew I had to do it in small pieces. I did a small analysis for me on when I was getting the most erratic, when I was drinking, obviously. And so when was I drinking? Well, at nighttime when the demons came out. So I knew I had to cut that out immediately. We can get more strategic about this if you want. But to put it simply, if you can change what you're physically doing throughout your day, at any point in time, you're going to have to begin to disrupt the thought processes that you've habitually built in and the patterns that you've built in to what you think throughout your day, which most 95% of your thoughts today are the same thoughts as yesterday. We need to change that 1, that 2, that 3, that 4%. Once we hit 4% of thought processes, we had that critical mass, and now we can actually influence the rest of the way that we think throughout our day, therefore correcting the way that we behave or influencing the way we behave in a manner associated with the person we want to become. And so the persistence piece is so incredibly important, guys. And again, what I would do is I would stop drinking. I popped a sleeping pill. As soon as I got home from work, I turned all the lights down low, did some schoolwork, turned off my phone, popped a sleeping pill, drank chamomile tea, went to bed. Woke up at 2:30, 3 a.m., which is what I still do to this day. On most days, I'm trying to actually get better at sleep. Different story for another time. So I'd wake up. I would take a freaking ice plunge bath before it became cool. It was like 2018. I'd fill my tub up with ice and cold water, and I would jump in it, and I would just sit there because I hated myself so much. Drink a tall glass of water, mineralize it, start to exercise, move differently, read, write. All of these different things I began to add more and more and more to as time progressed. And now I have my little morning routine. And yeah, it definitely sets my day up good for success if you ask me. There's lots of improvements that I always need to be making in life. But again, this is about you. I'm just giving you an example of what I did to get myself out of those behavioral patterns. But this is about you and the things that you are suffering from past, previous experiences, things that are no longer in existence. You still are in existence. Your thoughts are in existence. Your emotions are in existence. The things you do and the way that you behave around people and the impact that you have on those people is still in existence. And so the question is, do you want to be tethered to something that happened to you in the past, no matter what it is or what it was? Do you want other people in your life to feel the effects of the thing that happened to you however long ago, weeks ago, years ago, doesn't matter? Or do you want to move forward and grow and to blossom and to become the greatest version of yourself that you're capable of being in this life so that other people can then therefore reap the rewards and benefits of you and who you are and the love that you have to give and share? Because that's really what I'm finding it always comes down to, guys, is how much love of your own kind can you share? I think everybody has something really beautiful to contribute to this world. But we get so wrapped up in these thought processes of these experiences that we've had in the past, and it's so hard to break free that we never actually truly get to live up to our full potential. So if you want to break free from things you've experienced in the past, guys, this is what's worked for me and what I know has worked for other people. 1, recognize what it is that's holding you back, the thought, the experience, whatever it is. 2, accept responsibility for the fact that you could change your thoughts by changing your behaviors and then therefore changing your life and your mindset. 3, actually make a plan as to what it is you're going to start incrementally putting into your daily life to disrupt your physical habits, to disrupt those thought patterns. 4, take that action. Prep it out the night before and actually begin to do it today, right now. And then 5, remain persistent all throughout. If you set a goal for 7 days, hit 7 days. If you set a goal for 30 days, hit 30 days and continue to grow that goal. Do not give up on yourself. And if you need anything, I'm here for you guys. I promise you, if you do that, you will break free from the bondage of whatever it is that is holding you back down into that negative state of consciousness, that experience from the past that was so terrible and fucked up, but then also by taking actions to never let it happen again. And that's the importance of great lethality, is that you take control of your life and you make sure that you and only you are responsible for its quality. You do not subcontract out your safety or security or the safety and security of your family and loved ones. And you ensure that you are giving people the greatest version of you because you've got some amazing love to give.